play of this 2022 CFL season. Marshall Ferguson, Dwayne Ford, Claire Hanna down at field level for us throughout the evening as we get a look at Caleb Evans stepping into the fray, Dwayne, as he gets his first start of the season. Yeah, first of 2022. Of course, 7 starts for him last season after injuries pressed him into action as a rookie. Of course, Dane Evans with Jeremiah Masoli having moved on to Ottawa in free agency. The undisputed starter here in Hamilton looking to get this ship turned around. Ottawa won the toss. They decided they wanted the football immediately for Caleb Evans as he steps out onto the field. Second year in this league out of University of Louisiana Monroe. A 59% passer last season, but lots of upside they believe in this organization. Yeah, and we talk so frequently in this game and about that growth from year 1 to year 2 at virtually every position, about the game slowing down for you a little bit, about your familiarity with your teammates, with the system, even simple off the field things as far as the city you're living in and you know how you're going to go about getting food and things like that. Caleb Evans much more settled here in year 2. We hope to see that translate to the field for him. Begins with an inside handoff, this one right between the tackles, and it will be William Powell. We get a look at the Ottawa offense, brought to you by Expedia. Ottawa offense that features some familiar faces here at Tim Hortons Field. Of course, starting at center is Darius Sirocco, a 2018 first-round pick of the Hamilton Tiger Cats. He moved east in free agency, as did Jalen Ackland, top receiver for the Tiger Cats last year. One of their go-to guys. He has become a go-to guy in the nation's capital. Evans stands in the pocket, throws it back shoulder, completed right away, and welcome back to Hamilton, Jalen Ackland, after a standout 2021, throws the ball into the bunch, but makes a nice play to move the chains. Yeah, very fittingly, he's in familiar territory making this grab, but I love the little battle here. Push for a little leverage, a little push off perhaps by the receiver, but nicely placed ball there by Caleb Evans to get things going for the Ottawa REDBLACKS. Going after Jamal Roll, the 4th-year corner, taking over from Delvin Breaux, moving from field to boundary. As a fullback set in here for the REDBLACKS, they go back to the running game on first down, going absolutely nowhere as that Ticats defense stacks it up. Dylan went in the middle of it. We get a look at the Ticats front. Yeah, take a look on that defensive line. The Canadian Mason Bennett out of Winnipeg, Manitoba, played at University of North Dakota. He'll start at defensive end here today with Simone Lawrence placed on the 6-game injured list this week. Kyle Wilson takes over as the weak side linebacker. And in the secondary, lots of depth there, some veteran guys. Alden Darby came over in free agency. He'll start at the boundary half today. Quarterback run on 2nd and long here for Evans through the tackles. Knifes forward and runs for the first gain of 20-plus yards given up by the Ticats defense this year. Well, this is one of the intriguing things for Ottawa about plugging Caleb Evans into the lineup for Jeremiah Masoli. When you look at skill set, you're talking about a couple of guys with whom you can do a lot of things in terms of your called quarterback runs. This is beautifully blocked. Nice job by William Powell getting up on the defensive end, Julian Hauser. And you see that mobility, natural running ability of Caleb Evans. Jacob Ruby leading downfield as well as they go back to the ground on first down. And interesting that the Ottawa REDBLACKS this season, they've been throwing the ball a lot on first down. Well, for Ottawa head coach Paul LaPolice, of course, also the man in charge of their offense, it was a week to kind of take a deep breath and go, okay, what's next? Jeremiah Masoli, of course, injured last week. Caleb Evans takes over. A trade brings Nick Arbuckle to town as well to provide some depth. Struggled in the score zone with Masoli. Can they make some magic here? Outside in, Ackland, touchdown REDBLACKS. Immediately his first touchdown of the year, and it comes back in the Hammer where he started his CFL career. Jalen Ackland. Be a little taunting of the Ticat bench on the way by as part of that celly, but just sits it down in a soft spot. Caleb Evans hits him, and that's the way to get the confidence going for this Ottawa team and for Caleb Evans in particular. Looking for a great start, and he got it. 6 plays, 66 yards, took just 3:06 off the clock. Well, Jeremiah Masoli didn't make his return to Tim Hortons Field, but Jalen Acklin certainly has a quick strike, a score zone opportunity answered for the Ottawa REDBLACKS. Evans on the money. Acklin knifes in the end zone, and the REDBLACKS up early in Hamilton. Acklin, as a Hamilton Tiger Cat, had himself 7 touchdowns and has one here back in Hamilton. John a little bit with the fans in the front row. Behind that bench as the Hamilton Tiger Cats get their first possession. It'll be Woods returning it all the way out past the 40-yard line. As we go back and get a look at Jalen Acklin on that first drive of the ball game, quickly down the field, made a couple of great grabs, but had a couple of words for the black and gold sideline going forward.
Yeah, now I'm not sure if that's a zero sign he's making or if there's something that I just don't understand. You know, I mean, just a little tease, little taunt, but I think that most of the guys in black and gold recognize that coming with a little bit of anger, a little bit of edge is how Jalen Acklin gets himself ready to go.
Made him attractive to Sean Burke as both of them left Hamilton for Ottawa. To the ground they go early on. Don Jackson is back in the game, back in the lineup, and going nowhere on first down.
As Jackson tries to bounce that one outside. Dane Evans finds himself looking for a little bit of a bounce back in what has been a tough season all the way around. I think for Dane Evans, it felt like it hit a low for him with the fumble. Late game fumble return for a touchdown by Edmonton's Jalen Collins in his last outing.
That's a second and long after the short run here, and Dane will climb the pocket, looking downfield, open receiver, it's caught. It's the newcomer in Hamilton, and it's popped out on the ground. Randall Evans has it, and again, the turnover issues strike, as it was Johnson, his first start in the CFL, signed in April, couldn't hold on to it, Dwayne.
Well, and turnovers have been the Achilles heel of the Hamilton Tiger Cats thus far in 2022. Dane Evans throws a strike. Johnson's got it, but he doesn't see Hakeem Bailey coming off that far corner. He's looking at the defender chasing him. Bailey delivers the hit, jars that ball loose. Randall Evans with the recovery. Ticats dig themselves further into the minuses in that turnover ratio. Giveaway, takeaway.
Just 17 points off turnovers so far this year for Ottawa and their offense. They'll get an opportunity here as a flag comes up on the snap. Evans waits it out, slings it to the sideline, and intended for Nate Bahar. We'll see where the flag will be assigned.
Offside. Hamilton. 5-yard penalty. Repeat first down.
Oh, we mentioned the turnover issues that have plagued Orlando Steinauer's Hamilton Tiger Cats early this season, and it's such a reversal of fortunes for the way that this team performed a year ago. +13, second in the Canadian Football League last year. A -9 so far this season that shows in terms of the standings as well.
Clunky start to that play, ends in a sack for Julian Hauser. He gets into the backfield for his second official sack of this 2022 campaign, but never had a chance on that one. Slow developing, and that looked like a team that hasn't found a win this year.
And Julian Hauser getting an opportunity to play full-time at that defensive end spot this season. The unblocked man into the quarterback with speed.
Dylan Wynn trying to sneak his way in there for a little half sack.
Yeah.
I don't think the stats keepers will allow it, but it sets up second and very long for Caleb Evans. Rolling to his right, throws across his body, completed. Nate Bahar and a host of tacklers get there to wrap him up after a gain of about 7 on the play. It will send out the punting unit here, league best punting unit for the Ottawa REDBLACKS, but wishing that they didn't have to see it so quickly after the turnover.
And when you see the stunt up front here, Mason Bennett at defensive end is going to loop inside. Usually you expect someone from somewhere to come outside and contain. Nobody does. That allows Caleb Evans to slip outside and have time to make this throw.
Sunday Delicate, a free safety rolling down as well, chasing after Caleb Evans. Leone sends this one away. Wobbling spiral will drop down to Woods at the 35-yard line. 51-yard punt, and it gets struck down after a return of 6. Ball popped out at the end. Antoine Pruneau has it. And did they call this down, or was this a bump? They're signaling it's Ottawa football. The flag is down as well, so we'll get a look at it and sort out where the penalty came from. Sorted out on the other side, but the first look here at the return coming back from Lawrence Woods, and that ball looks like it was out. Red Blacks should have possession when we return.
Back at Woods fighting for extra yards at the end of this return. There you see ball's on its way out before his knee touches the ground. That was Shahid Salmon, backup linebacker, who came up with the strip. Veteran Antoine Pruneau with the recovery. And you've got Ottawa ball at the 34-yard line of the Hamilton Tiger Cats.
Inside handoff goes to Willie P, going nowhere. So a touchdown drive by the Red Blacks. A quick fumble on offense on a big 48-yard completion. And then punt going the other direction. And another fumble in a short field here for the Red Blacks. This is the last thing you want, Dwayne, if you're the Ticats and you're sitting here winless at home.
Well, I'm feeling sorry for our stats man, Johnny Russin, who's trying to keep up with the Hamilton turnovers. And Johnny's overworked. He's sweating up here in the booth today.
See what he has to log on 2nd and 11. 5 wide go the Red Blacks. Evans stands in, maneuvers the pocket, gets wrapped up, and he will be brought down eventually as Micah Johnson, the free agent signing out of Saskatchewan, back in the lineup, back in the backfield, wraps him up and brings him down. The field goal unit comes out.
And that's certainly what the Hamilton Ticats envisioned defensively with the acquisition of Micah Johnson. He's going to be on the inside. You're going to get pressure from the top of the screen as well. Closing things down, that's Mason Bennett. Getting a good push, looping inside. Funnels him to the big dog, Micah Johnson. Long established as one of the top interior defensive linemen in the Canadian Football League.
Lewis Ward from just about 50 away. Hasn't attempted one from this far this year, and he misses it to his right. So Woods, who had the fumble a moment ago on the punt return, gets an opportunity down the sideline, and a solid return back out near the 30-yard line as we get a look at Caleb Evans trying to stand in and make a play here. Getting his opportunity with Jeremiah Masoli injured and out. The Ticats front says no chance. Deep shot over the middle, popped out. And right away after that possession on a punt, Lawrence Woods trying to do something when there wasn't much there. And gets it rocked out by Shahid Salmon. And teams that have less turnovers so far this season, Dwayne, are 16-2, and the Ticats not helping themselves at all as Dane Evans with just the 3rd offensive play of the game for the Hamilton Tiger Cats here, already past the halfway point in the first quarter, a run that goes for nothing.
And Hamilton certainly looking for a way to try and get things going with this offense. And change to their offensive line this week, by the way, as Alex Fontana, former Ottawa Red Blacks first-round pick, starts at center for them. So changing places are the 2 starting centers in this ball game. We mentioned Don Jackson gets plugged in at the running back spot this week as Hamilton tries to get that run game going a little bit.
Evans with pressure down around his legs, has to dance away from it, but can't escape. And another sack early on in this game is Avery Williams, who got lots of compliments from Dane when we talked to him earlier this week about his ability in the run game. Well, it turns out in the passing game he can get after it pretty good as well.
You're going to see Don Jackson, the running back, in protection. He's going to step up and cut the blitzing linebacker. But Avery Williams keeps scrambling to get there and disrupt Dane Evans in the pocket.
A couple of essentially 2-and-outs if you include the Anthony Johnson mishap, as this punt from Michael Domagala, his 2nd of the year, drops down, doesn't go anywhere. Just a 32-yard punt. And again, starting in Hamilton's end of the field is Caleb Evans and the Red Blacks offense as they hold an early 7-0 lead.
One thing Nate Bahar said is that when you lose a leader like that, it's a huge moment. It has a huge impact on your team. He's hoping for a positive response, and it looks like he's gotten one so far. You guys?
And Nate Bahar obviously very outspoken as well about the hit that took Jeremiah Masoli out of the lineup.
Rightfully so, as this one's popped up in the air, and another turnover in this game. It's Cam Kelly, his second of the season. So back and forth, these struggling offenses go. Ottawa was on fire on their first drive, but nobody can put it together since.
Well, and Dylan Wynn at the line of scrimmage. First man to get a hand on this ball. Keep an eye on the big fella from his defensive tackle spot. He's going to tip this one up in the air. Nice job using the hands to fight off the cut block there. So he's able to get into that passing lane. And Cameron Kelly, terrific playmaker for this Hamilton Tiger Cat defense, comes up with another one.
Don Jackson into the middle of the pile, gain of 4 on first down. As we get a chance to meet the Ottawa defense here on a steamy Saturday afternoon in Hamilton.
Well, keeping with the theme of former Tiger Cats in Ottawa, Lorenzo Malden gets the start at defensive end. Adam Auclair, former star for the Laval Rouge et Or. I'm excited to see this guy get an opportunity to play a little bit at the weak side linebacker spot. With a number of veterans missing from that secondary, Hakeem Bailey makes the start at the boundary corner spot.
Ruben Dunbar on an island to the wide side of the field. Dane Evans will check it down underneath. Flag is out as running away from 2 tacklers. Now 3 is Tim White. As we'll sort out the flag, and that'll be Tim White's team-leading 25th catch of the season.
Hamilton, number 64. 10-yard penalty. Repeat second down.
Was an 11-yard gain, and just when there's some movement in this Hamilton offense, a holding call will bring it back.
Yeah, that one will go against big Coulterwood Manzi. Right guard for the Tiger Cats. And he's the man flagged on this one as Dane Evans gets on the move. And that challenge, it's one of the things Chris Schultz used to talk about all the time. Offensive line is the one position in sports where you play with your back to the ball all the time. And so there's that advantage for defensive linemen. You saw it there as Woodmansey doesn't know where Evans is stepping up. The defensive player does and is able to get a head start trying to move to the inside. And as an offensive lineman, you're just doing the best you can to try and keep him off your quarterback.
Kenny Onyeka checks out of the ball game and battling some injuries the last couple of weeks for the Red Blacks. So it will set up 2nd and 17 for Evans and the Ticats offense. 5 wide they go. Just a 3-man rush, and Evans underneath. The second catch of the year for 25-year-old Hamilton native Tyler Turnowski out of Waterloo. Won't be enough for the first, but nice to see the young Canadian get on the stat sheet early in this one.
And a little bit of a shuffle in that Hamilton lineup. David Ungerer is down this week, which allows a little more playing time for Turnowski at wide receiver. He, of course, put up ridiculous numbers. We talked about it when Edmonton was in town a couple weeks ago as he and Trey Ford were a rather dynamic duo. When they were wearing a different set of black and gold uniforms.
58 catches, 5 touchdowns in that 2018 season for Tyler Turnowski. Pretty special stuff. As a beautiful punt this time from Doma Gala, and it bounces inside the 5, and he does not get the kick. And so into the end zone it will go. Picked up there, it's the veteran R.J. Harris who will give it up. 61-yard punt as Caleb Evans comes back on the field. Here's head coach Paul LaPolice with his thoughts on the young pivot.
One thing you can't replace in this league is the ability to go into a football game where all the bullets are flying, it's not preseason, and actually play, starters in the Canadian Football League. So Caleb had that opportunity last year. So he sees the pictures much faster than he would have last year. I think we've surrounded him with people this year that can help him, whether it be up front or in the backfield or receiver position. So, you know, he should be, I think he's going to process information faster than, you know, what he did last year.
Told us coming into this game that Hamilton shows a lot of eye candy. You got to know what they're showing versus what they're actually doing. Double move outside. Ackland, slant and go, catches it, running away from Jamal Roll. Tunde Adeleke giving chase and pushed out of bounds, but a big shot play. And Olapoli's always telling us, Dwayne Ford, explosives. That's what this offense needs.
Yeah, those big plays. Keep an eye on Jalen Ackland. He's lined up as the outside man. You're going to see, as you said, that double move on the outside, settles down to the inside, getting the defender rolled to bite hard, bounces it back out. Nicely run route, nicely placed football, nicely executed play for the Ottawa. Run route, nicely placed football, nicely executed play for the Ottawa REDBLACKS.
Jalen Ackland's third catch of the ball game. He's already over 80 yards here in Hamilton in his return. Quickly out to the sideline this time. It'll go to Terry Williams, the returner. Turned dynamic offensive player, and he's been a fun one to watch as they've had some injuries, whether it be to Ryan Davis or looking around at some of the other players, Justin Hardy. He's filled that role that they need.
Yeah, making the most of his opportunity and certainly getting a little help there from Jalen Ackland, who was his lead blocker on the hitch screen that time. Look back at what Mr. Ackland did in his couple of years as a Hamilton Tiger Cat. His development, that first year lining up largely at the wide out spot, moved into the slot. Last year a little closer to the quarterback to get some more looks.
Evans looks left, comes back to the right. Expect a holding call here. Is back into the middle, and Teddy Laurent, he nearly had the rare opportunity for an interception. I don't know about that one.
That was a little bit of a rookie year flashback for Caleb Evans.
We did a game in Toronto last year where he had a couple of those.
Holding, Ottawa number 63. Now penalty is declined. Third down.
You mentioned earlier, Marshall, that idea of eye candy, right? And what they're showing versus what they're actually doing. And yeah, it was Caleb Evans' second start last year. He had won his first start. His second start came against a Chris Jones defense, which is going to give you some different looks. After he had seen a lot of man, I think the reads came pretty clear to him in game one. But yeah, sometimes a young quarterback can still be fooled.
Lewis Ward 0 for 1 in this ball game. Gets a shorter look this time and hammers it through onto the concourse in Hamilton, as it'll make it a 10-1 lead as we get a look at Sean Burke, pre-game new general manager of the Ottawa REDBLACKS, and a couple of acquaintances to say hello to, wandering around about 90 minutes before kick.
Yeah, I mean, a big part of the reason why so many guys went from wearing black and gold to wearing black and red this season. Sean Burke, longtime member of the Hamilton Tiger Cats front office over the years, filled a number of different roles for Hamilton, took that experience and moved on to Ottawa. His first opportunity as a general manager this year. I think Burke is a great hire for this team, has done a terrific job so far in terms of the roster that he continues to put together.
Certainly paying off early as Jalen Ackland making plays. Of course, Masoli had his influence before the unfortunate injury last week, as Dane Evans looks over the middle, and this one incomplete. Taking a shot 15 yards down the field. Sherrod Baltimore peeling off from his field corner spot to make the play on the football.
Yeah, Sherrod Baltimore, who finds himself the wily veteran of the secondary all of a sudden with so many injuries. But yeah, recognizing what's happening here. Baltimore is out wide. You can see him kind of directing traffic as the play gets started. As this ball is thrown to the inside, he's sitting on that outside route, recognizes where the ball's going, gets there just in time to disrupt the catch for Tim White.
Targeting Tim White, who leads the team in targets. This time it'll be Braylon Addison. First down of the ball game for the Hamilton Tiger Cats offense. First down of the ball game for the Hamilton Tiger Cats offense, and that will get a cheer from the black and gold faithful.
Yeah, trying to get a little bit of momentum here. Braylon Addison is a guy that I'm still waiting to see him kind of hit full gear. There's been a number of stops and starts for him over the last few years.
Gets his 23rd catch catch of the season for Braylon Addison, but no touchdowns as of yet. And it will be the Ticats needing a score to bring this one closer together. And what we can objectively say has been a sloppy, turnover-filled, up and down, challenged offensively first quarter between these two winless teams. Challenged offensively first quarter between these two winless teams. Certainly plenty of potential as Matthew Schultz checks in on second and medium, mixing it up. The heavy package in, 3 receivers and a running back, as well as Schultz becomes the quarterback run threat in this offense, and very effective. Takes us to the quarter break. Ottawa with a 10-1 lead as Jalen Acklin making plays and Dane Evans trying to find some answers for the Hamilton Tiger Cats offensive attack. A beautiful day for football here in the Hammer. The fans are out and ready to support. Need something to get them going as the Red Blacks lead after 1. Offensively for the Hamilton Tiger Cats, just a single point on the board thus far. 3 turnovers in that first quarter and a bunch of sacks as well. 3 of them altogether between the two. Ottawa in control in that first drive going forward, but now we're trying to see between the two. Ottawa in control in that first drive going forward, but now we're trying to see what is the evolution of this game going to bring as we carry into the second.
Yeah, and what's interesting to see is the way that the game has started for the Hamilton Tiger Cats. Obviously, they've been a team so far this season that has started games pretty well, not necessarily finishing as desired. So a bit of a rocky start through that first quarter. We'll see if that might mean sort of a reversal of fortunes as this game unfolds.
As it will be the Tiger Cats offense after the Matthew Schultz Wildcat snap was taken on that second and medium defense after the Matthew Schultz Wildcat snap was taken on that second and medium to end the first quarter. This time Dane Evans lines up as a slot back. He'll take a handoff and roll to the field side, throwing a comeback complete to Tyler Turnowski. So heard about Andy Fantou's former Ticat pregame talking about be creative, go out and attack, try to win this football game. There's something a little different for you.
Yeah, and there you see Dane Evans. He's going to work his way behind Matthew Schultz here to take the handoff. Tommy Condell.
Schultz now running the option, and this time it'll be thrown away by Evans. Thought it was going to be an outside release, looked like from Dunbar, but Schultz the option to Evans, the throw. What are we watching?
Well, you know, this is kind of an exciting matchup when you think about the reputations of two play callers, Tommy Condell for Hamilton, Paul LaPolice for Ottawa, going head-to-head, as these are two guys who, in a league where offensive coordinators are known for their creativity, I think these are a couple of guys who have been among the front runners in that regard. So we could see some fun stuff today.
Mixing it up, trying to put some jet fuel under the offense here in Hamilton. 4 receivers to the wider side of the field as Evans has to dance away from pressure. Checks it down, Don Jackson at the 25. Knifes down to the 21-yard line. It'll come up 4 yards shy of the yardage required. And you talk about being aggressive. Will Orlando Steinauer, with the team just 1 point on the board, keep the offense out? Nope, he will not. And we'll get our first look at Seth Small coming in to kick.
Yeah, that shuffle of assignments for the kickers in Hamilton. Simon Larrier had been doing the punting. Michael Domagala the place kicking. Domagala becomes the punter this week as Seth Small takes over place kicking duties.
And hooks it just inside the upright, so 4 points on the board for Hamilton Tiger Cats here. As we get a look at Nick Arbuckle in the pregame. He came out and basically tried to play a game, Dwayne. He was out here for about 2.5 hours ripping it around in his new old colors.
Yeah, well, the colors he's trying to make up for lost time, as Nick Arbuckle, of course, was acquired by the Ottawa REDBLACKS for the 2020 season, coming off a year in which he had 7 starts in Calgary in 2019. Of course, the 2020 season washed out. Didn't get a chance to play, but essentially spent that whole year learning the offense with Paul LaPolice. He ends up going on to Toronto and Hamilton, or sorry, excuse me, Toronto and Edmonton last season. starts this year with Edmonton, but with the injury to Jeremiah Masoli, Arbuckle reacquired by Ottawa and refamiliarizing himself with Paul LaPolice's playbook.
And interesting with Caleb Evans in the game here is that Nick Arbuckle comes in and he's been paid in a variety of different places, whether it be with signing bonuses or a little bit of starter money. But what's to say that Nick Arbuckle is going to jump in coming up next Thursday against Montreal and be the starter because they acquired him with a 4th-round pick? But Caleb Evans has a real opportunity here to say, this is my job, does he not?
Well, he really does. And when you look at it, you know, automatically the response is Arbuckle is brought in as a guy who brings some experience. Well, Nick Arbuckle has 14 career starts. Caleb Evans had 7 starts last year.
Incomplete that time from Evans as he was searching out the running back William Powell out of the backfield. And not a lot of momentum ever since that first drive for Evans, not making a compelling case so far. But certainly that conversation will be had with Arbuckle. The offense once again in the nation's capital, and a quick turnaround again to Thursday night football to kick off week 7 across the league as Richie Leone, league leading net punting, gets set to send this one away. Little bit of a breeze into his face here in Hamilton. A beautiful spiraling kick drops down to Lawrence Woods at the 20. Crosses to the 30. It's a 46-yard punt. And a return of about 12 on the play. Dane Evans back on the field. Points on the board. Trails by 6. Looking to get this offense from coast to coast. The 7-Eleven Cups. They're out there. Get them. It's going to be a great couple of matchups on Thursday Night Football as Dane Evans loads it up, pats the ball, finds a crossing route, double cut, but Tim White holds on and gets the gain across midfield for another Tiger Cats first down. And gets the gain across midfield for another Tiger Cats first down.
Here's that classic Dane Evans velocity. If you watch for the crossing route here, coming right to left on your screen off play action. The fastball. Juggle there. You get nervous when you're a Ticats fan, I'm sure, at this point. The number of interceptions that have come off juggled and deflected and bobbled footballs for this team. When Tim White didn't catch that one quite cleanly, I think they holding their collective breath here.
Schultz in on first down. He'll throw it out to the sideline, completed to Dunbar. So it looks like rotating back and forth between Schultz and Evans situationally. We've seen the 2 quarterbacks set. We've seen Schultz in the run game. We've seen the 2 quarterbacks set. We've seen Schultz in the run game package. And this time loads it up on first down from the gun.
And interestingly, Matthew Schultz and Dane Evans are 2 guys that have trained together in the offseason in Texas.
Perhaps helping the free agency recruitment when Jeremiah Masoli left for these Ottawa REDBLACKS. When Matthew Schultz was available, with Trevor Harris expected to sign back in Montreal, the wheel was spun and Schultz ended up here in Hamilton as this one's whistled dead.
Timeout, Hamilton.
And as Hamilton displays some different looks on offense, coming off a bye week for them. Ottawa defensive coordinator Mike Benavides. Defensive coordinator Mike Benavides looks to come up with some answers in response.
What's Benny trying to do? Cut weight? Wearing a... This isn't October. It's 30 degrees down there. What is he doing?
Benny looks like he's incognito down there, but as you know, as a guy who likes a hoodie and a long pair of sweats in any weather myself, I can appreciate his look.
Kindred souls as Schultz stays in here on second down and medium, back to the ground game. Knifing through, not a body type that you would look at like Tommy Stevens in Calgary or Cody Fajardo in Saskatchewan as a quarterback run threat, but Schultz has been getting it done.
Yeah, you look over the last couple of games, and we saw a little bit of this package against Edmonton 2 weeks ago for Hamilton. Matthew Schultz came in. And we saw Dane Evans as well with some called quarterback runs, option type plays for the Hamilton quarterbacks. But certainly with some called quarterback runs, option type plays for the Hamilton quarterbacks. But certainly expanding that package this week.
I'll keep him in here, looking over the middle. Crosser, it is Tim White. Caught, wrapped up down inside the 20-yard line. Randall Evans makes the play, but this offense all of a sudden moving with Matthew Schiltz, 19-yard gain on this one, and going with a heavy set as well. An extra lineman will stay in Jesse Gibbon. Yeah,
nice timing here as Matthew Schiltz slips this one into a tight window between two converging defenders. Timmy White with the grab to move the sticks.
There's 4 receivers and a running back in the ball game with Gibbon in an offensive line. Spinning back, Don Jackson stays on his feet, gets hit, bounces off another tackler. And they love that. Alden Darby, defensive back, runs down the sideline to celebrate and pump Jackson up.
Yeah, nice run there from the Don. Taking a couple of shots and just keeps the legs churning, demonstrates his balance. Don Jackson, certainly not the biggest guy, but right there, the spin to the inside. He'll take a good shot there from Hakeem Bailey. Rocked, but not knocked down. Picks up a couple more yards to create this second and short situation in close for the Ticats.
5 carries so far for Jackson, 19 yards. Might not seem like a lot, but he's only played in 1 game and only had 1 yard to his name coming in. Schiltz, quarterback run, fakes it inside, cuts it back to the 2-yard line. Not shy of the goal line, but it's good for a 1st and goal for the Tiger Cats offense.
And Matthew Schiltz, of course, started his career with the Montreal Alouettes. Handful of starts there. Demonstrated, I thought, last year in particular, that he was a capable backup, and we mentioned the natural fit with he and Dane Evans, that he became a pretty natural guy to slip in here in Hamilton as the number 2 quarterback when Jeremiah Masoli left town.
Communication on the offensive line, stacked up in the backfield. Lorenzo Malden announces his presence in this ball game. It's not a sack as he leads the team with 3 coming in, but a tackle for loss as they put Schiltz in the gun, and he got hammered.
Yeah, Lorenzo Malden had seen that play one too many times. He's going to come off that end, come down hard inside.
Reed Salmon setting the edge on Don Jackson as well. And so after about 5 or 6 plays out, back comes Dane Evans, 2nd and goal. Braylon Addison, the receiver, stays in to protect, ball tips at the line and incomplete as Evans backpedals out of that passing attempt, frustrated. And Schiltz, who led the majority of that drive down the field, watches from the sideline as now it's 3rd and goal. And you know there'll be opinions coming out of the crowd here in Hamilton.
Looking for some aggressiveness. Davon Coleman, the well-traveled Davon Coleman, another former Ticat, is the man who got a hand on this, big number 9.
Evans goes hard count. They'll reset. 5 receivers set in on 3rd and goal from the 3. Looks to his left, rips an out route, and just past the outstretched arms of Tim White, incomplete. Turnover on downs. Just missed on the outside. And Schiltz shakes his head on the sideline, wishing he could have helped punch it in at the end. Tipped again at the line of scrimmage, and Randall Evans there in coverage. The Ottawa defense holds. 10-4, Red Blacks up over the Tigers.
Comes down to 3rd and short. 3rd and goal right here. Ball's tipped at the line of scrimmage by Adam O'Clair, that weak side linebacker spot. You saw Randall Evans, a little hand grab there on Tim White, leaving White just able to reach for it with one hand. Nonetheless, Ottawa stop, Mike Benavides selling.
Caleb Evans rolls out to his left. He'll look to run, escaping his own end zone, cuts it back, bounces off Javon Santos-Knox, and a nice gain for a 1st down using the legs that time for the 2nd-year pivot out of Louisiana Monroe. 14 yards on the play.
Well, once again, with Caleb Evans and that running ability, you're going to see him end up scrambling out to his left here on this one. Someone's got to try and contain him. This is a guy who can hurt you with his legs. Nobody's got contained to keep him in the pocket. Evans takes advantage of that. to get out from the shadow of his goalpost a little bit.
William Powell stacked up here, but to your point with the legs on Caleb Evans last year, 42 carries, 8.5-yard average, and a long of 36. He said he kept his speed in the offseason, but he also gained about 6 or 7 pounds of muscle, feels more comfortable taking some of those hits.
Yeah, put in some time in the weight room, and that's a big part of it is, you know, obviously one of Paul LaPolice's themes, and I'm sure we'll touch on it a little more later, is he wants throwers who can run, not runners who can throw at the quarterback position. But Caleb Evans recognizes his legs are a weapon in this league.
Big difference is on 2nd and long. This one's a punt for Alden Darby. It's caught at his own 50, cutting it back and wrapped up at the 55. And that one hung up way too long for Caleb Evans, and Darby makes him pay.
And you got a little taste of the wind here in Hamilton. Throw it into that breeze. Alden Darby takes advantage.
See ball, get ball. Ticats possession, trailing by 6. 6:22 left in the first half.
We'll take a look back. Alden Darby, the halfback, he's just going to drop deep into zone. But if you look inside, the receiver makes kind of a double move here, heads down the seam. Darby's a free man. He's covering more to the outside. But as this ball hangs up, you're going to see Darby able to make a move inside to make a play on the ball. That's one for Evans. If he can lead his receiver a little more to the inside, maybe he has a shot, keeps Darby from getting involved in the play.
Sean Thomas Erlington stays on his feet, making gains on first down here as maybe feels like Caleb Evans locked in a little bit on that one and wanted to take a shot over the top, and Evans comes right back on first down with the smooth completion to Sean Thomas Erlington.
Yeah, quick hitter to Sean Thomas Erlington coming out in the flat. Good hard run there. A couple of yards after contact allow him to pick up that first down.
16th catch of the year. And rolling out this time, lots of time. Evans throwing it back the other side. It's complete. Catch of the year. And rolling out this time, lots of time. Evans throwing it back the other side. It's completed. It's the fullback, Felix Garan-Gauthier, and he's wrapped up inside the 5. Pulled out of bounds by Adam Auclair, but not until big damage done. 39 yards on the shot play. The backdoor slip for the fullback. You love that play.
Well, I do, and there's kind of an exchange of roles here. As you're going to see on the back side of this, it's going to be the slot, Tim White, who comes in on this edge. So as the quarterback rolls this way, Tim White becomes the guy protecting. That leaves the fullback, usually the blocker, doing what Tim White usually does, coming up with the big catch downfield.
The old sleeper tight end wheel back to the field. Matthew Schultz checks into the ball game. They couldn't get it done from the 3 last time when he was here in the shotgun. What will they do this time? Once again, quarterback run into the middle, and the front 7 says no thank you from Ottawa.
But every time we've seen this look from Hamilton so far, it seems it's the quarterback running the ball, and Ottawa is anticipating the same thing. So what's the counter for Hamilton? Is anticipating the same thing. So what's the counter for Hamilton? You maybe got to give the ball to the running back, or you've got to come up with a play action pass off of this look. But Ottawa's doing a nice job now, kind of giving them the middle and then taking it away to collapse on Matthew Schultz when he tries to take off.
Defensive lineman Julian Hauser checks in with Jake Burt and Garan-Gauthier. Heavy set in, sneaking, rolling to the left. Touchdown Hamilton. Search for their first win between these two clubs in 2022. In the search for their first win between these two clubs in 2022.
That's Matthew Schultz on the ground, picking a different point of attack here. He's just going to slide this one to the left. Quarterback sneak look, find that soft spot to the left side. To the left side. Pick a gap, get north-south. The Ticats have got themselves a major.
Well, it's the 6th carry of the ball game. Not necessarily the prettiest, not the most wildly drawn up X's and O's play in the quarterback run game, but it gets the job done as Schultz, the backup quarterback, getting a bit of run here. As Schultz, the backup quarterback, getting a bit of run here. To round out week number 6. He's also the holder. He puts it down for Seth Small. who knocks it through, and after struggling, turnovers, sacks given up. Oh, as we got some action after the snap. And the whistle here. It's the first lead of the ball game for Hamilton on 4 plays, 54 yards. Took just a minute 34 for Hamilton on 4 plays, 54 yards. Took just a minute 34 to get into the end zone.
And here you get a look again at the scoring play. Matthew Schultz, the ball carrier. Dane Evans. Doesn't matter who gets him as long as the Tiger Cats score.
Reminiscent of when one Jeremiah Masoli was the starting quarterback in Hamilton. And I think that speaks a little bit to the character of Dane, where he doesn't care if it was Jeremiah, if it's Schultz, if it's a guy he's worked out with before or not.
Let's go. Let's get the drive started right here, baby.
They're in the end zone, who cares?
That's how we do it right there, man. Great play.
Now it's the turn of Caleb Evans to try and make good on his interception on the last drive. The first points off turnover in this ball game. As Terry Williams returns it across the 20, chopped down. As Tyler Turnowski fires up the crowd. Bit of a finger wag there. Doing his job on specials while being a starting receiver.
Well, I mean, this proves to me that Milt Stiegel's been lying to me all these years that receivers actually can play special teams. Nice job there by Tyler Turnowski.
A lot of love from the sideline anytime you get especially a young Canadian, you know this, Wayne, a starting young Canadian trying to prove himself, throwing into the lineup, running down on specials, making a play, firing up the home crowd in his hometown. And it'll pin the Red Blacks inside their own 25 for Caleb Evans. Inside handoff on first down, trying to find a hole, and no gaps open that time anywhere in the front. Down, trying to find a hole, and no gaps open that time anywhere in the front.
The Tiger Cats defense looking to build on that momentum generated by the last black and gold offensive drive. Micah Johnson certainly trying to make his presence felt on that Tiger Cat defensive line. Got that great interior rotation, 3 veterans, and Micah Johnson, Dylan Wynn, and Ted Laurent.
Crowd into it on 2nd and 10. 3-man rush. Evans bounces around the pocket, eyes downfield, and it is completed. It will be shy of the first down yardage required. As Mason Bennett out from his defensive line spot was first man there, and Jalen Acklin will add another tally. And Justin Howell, who was out early in the season with a hamstring, slowly, gingerly makes his way back to the locker room for the Red Blacks.
Frustrating start to the season, certainly for Justin Howell. His first real opportunity to roll as the starter at free safety for these Red Blacks.
7th round draft pick, earned his teeth. They snapped that with Randall Evans offside, it looked like. Yep, flag does come down. Late substitution from Ottawa. And they were not on the same page as Lawrence Woods runs into a wall. 48-yard punt, but it'll hit the 3-minute warning with the Ticats leading in the back and forth battle of these Ontario rivals. Bob Dice confused. We'll get the answers when we return.
They could get up to anything. Anything is possible.
Jeff's done a great job. Great to see that program and those facilities shone across the country today as Don Jackson makes a catch out of the backfield and a gain of 5. The one person I felt poorly for today, I have to admit, is Bailey Feltmate. Second-year Ticats linebacker, 2017-2019 Loney Bowl champion out there for the Axemen, second-team All-Canadian, 200 tackles when he played for Acadia. 200.
Well, pretty good contingent of Acadia Axemen in the Canadian Football League. Bailey Feltmate, of course, one of the most recent to enter the CFL, but of course, watching Winnipeg with their back-to-back Grey Cups with Mike Miller and Jake Thomas.
No doubt. Second and medium, Dane Evans. He'll take a shot over the top, reaching back. One-handed, was that Stephen Dunbar with one? It's all he needed.
Yeah, you can pick up your flag.
quick ones.
Ottawa number 16. Penalty is declined.
Trying to throw it away from the defender. Collision, reach, catch. First down, Ticats. What a grab by Stephen Dunbar.
In a word, magnificent.
The oohs and ahs ring out around Tim Hortons Field.
What a job.
And rightfully so.
Hey, Daddy, is this turned on? Maybe. What does it do?
Dane Evans back to work as the crowd quiets down on first. They'll go back to Braylon Addison in the backfield. That's too good not to get another look at this thing. That's the catch of the year right now for Stephen Dunbar.
Yeah, Stephen Dunbar in year 2 of his CFL career. Adds to his big play reputation with that one.
You're Anthony Tejada. You stand up and go, sorry, you did what? Evans in the gun has 2nd and 6. The catch is great. If it leads to points, it'll be even better for the Ticats. 4 receivers to Evans' right. Quarterback draw. Don Jackson leading up through the middle. Evans will get the first down, wrapped up at the 15-yard line.
Keep an eye here on Don Jackson, the running back. Usually a ball carrier, he turns lead blocker for his quarterback, Dane Evans, on this quarterback draw. Nice lead draw there. He's got that kick out. Dane Evans turning it up inside. Ticats getting some mileage on the ground. Dane Evans turning it up inside. Ticats getting some mileage on the ground out of their QBs today.
Matthew Shilton Evans there. 1st and 10. In the 15, Evans back in the end zone. The newcomer, Anthony Johnson, touchdown, Ticats.
Johnson knew the corner was coming for him that time. Took a little peek, but makes the squeeze in the end zone. Ticats having had some success on the ground through various means here. Colin Kelly does a nice job washing the rusher down inside, allowing Dane Evans to slide outside. He finds Anthony Johnson. He's in the lineup today with Poppy White going on that 6-game injured list. Gives him another bigger body in that receiving corps. He's come up with a couple of big plays here today.
The Rock Hill, South Carolina native, former Steeler, Charger, and Buccaneer. First-team All-MAC in both years he played for the Buffalo Bulls, and into the end zone. 25 touchdowns in his time at Buffalo in 2 years. He had 25 TDs over 2 years. This will feel a little familiar.
There you see it as he's running across the back of the end zone. Dane Evans shuffling, buying time, keeping the eyes downfield. Throws the strike.
Dad finally has a reason to get fired up after a difficult bye week for Dane Evans, trying to decompress. Got away with his wife Nikki and young baby girl Ivy to try and, he said to us, Dwayne, draw a line in the sand. What's done is done. Let's move forward and find a way to create success. And it's been Matthew Shiltz, it's been the running game a little bit, and now it's him taking over with his arm at the end of the first half.
Yeah, and I mean, Dane Evans, so emotional, just looked distraught on the bench after the loss to Edmonton.
5 plays, 70 yards in a minute 42, and Ottawa will get the football back as we saw Trace Martin-McWeekay go into the room a little early at the end of the first half. And here is Dane Evans on the opportunity to get away during the bye week.
Getting to be like a true dad, like a stay-at-home dad, as I was joking with Nikki for like a full week. It was awesome, man. I was changing every diaper I could. I was warming up the bottles, doing all that, just getting to be with her. I mean, there were a lot of times throughout the day where I just sat there like on the couch with her on my chest, right? And those are things I don't get to do during the normal work week.
And Dane Evans, clearly the bye week and playing the role of stay-at-home dad, agreed with him. 229 yards through the air thus far for the Cats QB.
His counterpart Caleb Evans checks it down over the middle on first down. I mean, who hasn't enjoyed an Airbnb in St. Catharines, Ontario on the water and then come back to work refreshed and ready to go? He said he was excited to get back to work the second that day zero, as they call it, in Hamilton began. certainly showing here with a much improved second quarter as it's 2nd and 8. Caleb Evans over the middle, quick completion. Reaching for the first down up to the 50. It'll be very close for Nate Bahar. We got a good laugh out of Dwayne when he hopped on. Cameron Kelly just respotted the ball for the officials about a yard further back from where Bahar lunged, but certainly an eventful week for Nate.
Yeah, I mean, the first Red Blacks player to speak after the ugly hit. Disgraceful hit, if we're being completely honest about it, that took Jeremiah Masoli out of the lineup and robbed us of a great storyline today here in the Canadian Football League. But you know, the league, of course, following up with the suspension of Garrett Marino. And you know, I mean, for me, I don't want to spend a whole lot of time on it because it's been talked about a ton this week. But it's disappointment,
no doubt,
is largely what I feel. Disappointment in Garrett Marino as a guy who, this is a guy who's a good football player and doesn't need to do stuff like that to make his name or reputation, but also as a guy who has had the game taken away from him in so many different ways over the course of his career, particularly in college. To not respect the opportunity to play, to not respect somebody else's opportunity to play, there's the disappointment that I feel. And you know, hopefully he kind of gets things turned around. And it's not just the hit, the antics afterwards, the words spoken, that the apology doesn't do it for me. There's still a lot of show me to be done there before I'd let him back on the field.
And I'll say one thing, Nate Bahar said in his post-game press conference when he was very vocal and very upset because he's come to love being the teammate of Jeremiah Masoli. He said, listen, I know we got to play the Riders again. They're going to be talking all sorts of smack to me because I'm the guy that came out and was the voice on this. For every person that might give Nate Bahar a little bit of smack talk next time those two teams play, he gained about 1,000 fans.
Amen.
Across Canada for sticking up for his guy in that situation. Classy move from Bahar. The offense for Ottawa doesn't finish this first half with points as they would like to. And Hamilton will carry it out across the 30. Braylon Addison with the rare opportunity to return a punt. And that will do it for our first half in Hamilton. It started slow, but Dane Evans have breathed some life into the offense. 18-10, the Ticats.
Buddies.
Evanson fun as Paul Lapalisse stares down the play sheet. Ottawa won the toss in the first half. They took the ball, and they'll get it to begin the second here as well. As it's brought across midfield by Terry Williams and pushed out of bounds by Stavros Katsantonis. Apologize for the technical difficulties, but thank you for being here in the second half with us. As a late flag comes out, it'll likely be an unnecessary roughness call at the end of this one. And again, great starting field position for the Ottawa Redblacks offense, which is trying to find some answers
foul,
here.
Unnecessary roughness. Hamilton, number 38. 15-yard penalty. First down.
Take a look at the tail end of this one again as you see Terry Williams.
Full send, I believe that's what that's called.
Yeah, I mean, Garand Gauthier gets flagged, but kind of looked to me like Terry Williams was launched himself.
55 yards, including the penalty on the return. And so it starts this drive for the Redblacks all the way down at Hamilton's 40 as they trail by 8 to open up the third quarter. Ottawa begins with the heavy set, goes with the quarterback run, gain of 2, 2nd and 8.
One great opportunity here for the Ottawa Redblacks as they try to get things untracked offensively to start with this terrific field position. You mentioned the job that Terry Williams has done for them in recent weeks.
5 receivers to the right. Evans will take off and run. Lots of room if he breaks a tackle. He had one man to make miss and just couldn't break free, but he picks up the first down yards as Javon Santos-Knox rolls his eyes, getting a different look here on a 14-yard run.
Yeah, and you can kind of see what Caleb Evans is going to see here as you see defenders kind of dropping off to the right. Things open up inside. You know, and this one may have had a chance if when he makes that move on Kyle Wilson, the first defender to step up, if he goes left instead of right, right brings him back into Javon Santos-Knox.
Quick slant over the middle for Nate Bahar, trying to find the end zone for the second time in as many weeks. It's a first down here for the Red Blacks inside the 5-yard line.
Well, and it's taken Nate Bahar to kind of find his way in the Canadian Football League, former first-round pick of Edmonton. You know, struggled to find a place in the lineup there. Moving on to Ottawa. You know, primarily kind of a fringe guy his first couple of years, but I found stepped into a leadership role on a poor Ottawa team in 2021. And, you know, I don't know if being kind of looking around the room and finding himself as something of a veteran, and, you know, as he suggested to us, as you see coming into this week, number 2 in the league among Canadian receivers in the CFL, but, you know, guy who played his college ball at Carleton University in Ottawa, maybe found people leaning on him a little bit to find the way around Ottawa. And that helped him.
Caleb Evans diving towards the end zone, stretches it out on 2nd and goal from the 1, and it is a touchdown. So Ottawa opens up the first half with a scoring drive. They get great starting field position after the Terry Williams dive over the A-frames on the far sideline, and just a 40-yard romp into the end zone over 2 minutes and 42 seconds. Only took 5 plays. Very reminiscent of the way the first half began. And it sets up an extra point here to make it a 1-point ball game.
Yeah, and here you can see the Ticats stack things up, and watch for the reach right there. Caleb Evans stretching the ball across the plane. Count 6.
Lewis Ward will send this one away from 33 through the uprights. 1-point ball game in the hammer as the Ottawa offense does their job with the help of Terry Williams on the return. Offensive line plunging forward into the end zone. Go the Red Blacks.
Brings them within 2. Convert puts them within 1. We got ourselves a ball game.
There's Orlando Steinauer trying to answer the bell on how to get this team to play in the second half like they've played in first halves this year. And outscored in the second half 83-25, as you see there. And it doesn't begin well as Ottawa got possession to start the second half and goes straight down the field. Side note, the 2 home games that have been played here at Tim Hortons Field, Hamilton 9, Alberta 44. If you were playing just second half with the Calgary Stampeders and their stunning comeback victory here in Hamilton, and of course Edmonton forcing turnovers, the defense taking control, and Trey Ford getting his first career victory in the CFL as Lawrence Woods will get this out across the 35-yard line with more on the Ticats. Out across the 35-yard line with more on the Ticats trying to find answers in their second half woes. Let's go down to the field level with Claire Hanna.
Yeah, and Marshall, as you mentioned, they have these great starts, but in their last 3 games, they've been leading by as much as 21 points going into the second half, and they've let that lead slip away, and it's really stumped them. So this week, head coach Orlando Steinauer decided halfway through practice one day he was going to call it quits, and they went into the dressing room and he reenacted a halftime. A lot of the players at first were confused. They thought practice might be stopping, but what he did is he talked to them like it was a halftime. They had snacks. They went through all of their routine, and he is hoping that that's going to be able to lead to some better halftimes. He says you got to prepare the players the best way you can. You can't reenact everything that happens in a game, but let's emphasize it versus just talking about it, guys.
Yeah, certainly confusing for the players, but Steinauer not new for him to try and shock the group in the practice week and find some solutions, as there's a Red Blacks player down injured after the Don Jackson gain of 18 on that last play. But what do you think about shutting it down, all of a sudden blow the whistle, locker room, go, we're done?
Yeah.
And get your snacks, get your drinks, and figure it out.
Well, I like it, and I like Orlando's approach. Obviously, over the course of a football season. I mean, you think about preparation for football. It's such a rhythmic thing. There's so much routine to the way teams prepare week after week. You kind of do the same thing. Well, you keep doing the same thing, you're probably going to keep getting the same result. Right. And so Orlando's looking for an answer, something a little different, in hopes of finding a different result, that obviously being a strong second half performance and a win.
Lorenzo Malden, the injured Red Black, will make his way off the field. Great piece from Tim Baines of the Ottawa Sun this week on his family dynamic. Hope that it's not a long-term injury, as Evans will take the snap on 1st and 10. Flies it out to the flats. Braylon Addison slips away from one man before he's brought down at about the 45-yard line. It'll be enough for the first down as Addison continues to chip away as the shade makes its way across Tim Hortons field. As Addison continues to chip away as the shade makes its way across Tim Hortons field. The lights come on, and Mike Benavides' defense aiming to get a stop as quickly as possible.
I'll tell you what, Mike Benavides may insert himself in this lineup pretty soon, the way defensive players are going down for Ottawa. We just saw their sack leader, Lorenzo Malden, leaving the field. Praise Martin Oguike, another defensive end, already down in this ball game. Justin Howell, who started at free safety.
Don Jackson spins away. A flag is down. And as we speak of the injuries to the group on defense,
holding, Hamilton number 57.
Frankie Griffin,
10-yard penalty.
16 tackles, 1 knockdown, 4 tackles for loss, not even mentioned there. Money Hunter's been one of the best corners in the entire league so far this year, and then Patrick Levels and Abdul Kenna as well on that field side.
Yeah, I mean, and these are the guys who didn't even start the game. You've got 3 more starters down so far in this ball game. So Benny's kind of doing it with a patchwork defensive unit, likely for the rest of this ball game.
Evans goes hard count here. They go 3 by 3, empty it out. Tim White catches it on a crossing route, running away from tacklers, and they'll be pushed out of bounds. And something interesting in terms of the roster development, Dwayne, of this group is we did have the draft where there were those futures picks, right? There were guys that were looking down the road, and Ottawa did end up taking Alonzo Adai, who was at West Virginia, and Deshaun Stevens, defensive end who's dressed today. He was at Maine, ended up spending a year at West Virginia. But those guys are in the lineup now, and their depth play, well, they're in the game on defense.
Well, and I look at guys like those two very versatile players, Adam Auclair taking the year before, that there's certainly some intriguing Canadians that they have added to the puzzle.
Didn't like the end of the last play for the Ticats fans. Evans doesn't care here on 2nd and long. He tries to check it underneath, and Adam Auclair that you speak of gets in and makes the play, so Benavides' defense does get a stop.
And as we went through all of those injuries, of course, that's not even getting into Kweku Boateng.
Yes.
Injured before the season even started for Ottawa. You know, a guy they were counting on to help boost their pass rush a little bit, and obviously would have been a nice addition for them in terms of that Canadian content.
Michael Domagala comes out to kick this one away. 46-yard average here on the evening. We'll send this away from the 50, trying to angle it out of bounds. Inside the 15, it'll hang by the numbers. Caught there in space, and that'll be a 15-yard, no yards flag. As Terry Williams chased it down in the air.
No yards.
Auclair making plays as a backup. Ottawa finding answers on defense. They trail by 1 in Hamilton. Throughout the week, groin injury put on the 6-game injured list, but a productive player in his time for the Arkansas State Red Wolves, and an opportunity at that weak side linebacker here in Hamilton, a spot that has not been available, it seems like, Dwayne, in quite some time. Simone's pretty consistent at filling that void and making plays.
Yeah, he certainly has been. I just wonder how much talking Kyle's doing over there. I don't know if anybody can fill Simone's shoes in that regard.
Plenty of talk here from the Ticats defense. Julian Hauser, his 2nd sack of the ball game. Wraps it up, brings it down, and you know Simone would be right there ready to celebrate that play, as they love that up front. Some struggles getting to the quarterback. Just 6 sacks coming in for the Ticats, 8th in the league.
Yeah, Julian Hauser getting a little bigger role on this defensive line this season. And again, you see that situation. Dino Boyd gives a little bit too much ground. Simone doing his talking from the sidelines, but Well, Boyd gave a little too much ground and allowed Hauser that inside route to the quarterback.
Trying to throw it on timing to Jalen Ackland in the last slivers of sun that exist here at Tim Hortons Field, and incomplete as Ackland was covered up nicely that time by Jamal Roll.
Yeah, obviously ups and downs in this one through 2.5 quarters for the youngster Caleb Evans, making his 8th career Canadian Football League start, first of 2022.
Lawrence Woods back to return once again. Averaging about 11 yards a return. He's had an active afternoon. Low line drive comes off the foot of Richie Leone. Dribbles down to Woods at the 30. And right around that average. They'll pick him up and put him down as we get a look at Stephen Dunbar taking the field once again. And if you're just joining us, whoa, you missed a play.
He sure did. Stephen Dunbar.
Gets better every time.
It really does.
I love when we rapidly replay that too. You get the sound every single time of somebody yelling "ball" as it's in the air, and immediately the crowd going "whoa."
The half turn, and the frightening thing, not even necessarily the best receiver from his high school.
More on that as a play up inside the middle.
Yeah, Stephen Dunbar attended Rummel High School in Louisiana. Pretty good football tradition there. He says he got a lot of his work ethic there. Very great disciplined program. He set a number of receiving records at the school. As he moved on to the University of Houston, along came this kid named Jamar Chase. Broke some of those records. You'll recognize Chase's name, former LSU star, who was a number 5 overall pick in last year's National Football League draft.
And what's amazing too is that when we're talking to Stephen Dunbar, is it'll be 3rd and about 2.5 yards to go here, and the punting unit will come out with Michael Dolmagala once again for the Ticats. But we're asking Dunbar about, you see him make a play like that, one-handed grab, and we say, well, where were you getting recruited? And he goes, honestly, LSU was so stacked, I didn't even look in the deep south. He said, I went to Houston, I just loved that. I went there, I didn't care.
Yeah.
How can a guy that can make that kind of catch not go to not that Houston isn't a Division I football program, but just immense talent and on full display here in the Canadian Football League. Great to have him making plays north of the border. As this punt is returned back up around the 37-yard line, the long snapper Gordon White digging away, trying to find the football, can't get it out, and Caleb Evans goes back to work. It's up tonight with a Canadian rivalry matchup between CF Montreal and Toronto FC. Teams hit the pitch in an attempt to claim their territory at 7 Eastern, 4 Pacific on TSN.
Toronto FC's had a couple of busy weeks, adding some players.
Making moves. Making some noise as Canada gears up for the World Cup. Of course, coming up this fall, a couple of friendlies announced that they'll take on the next couple of weeks. Our own Matthew Shinetti, who is enjoying out east, will have lots of coverage for you on all of that across the TSN platforms. As a run to the outside for William Powell. Hasn't really been able to get the wheels going as of yet, but they're still trying to find the football to number 29.
Yeah, and that last one, Mason Bennett wasn't able to make the tackle, but came upfield to force Powell to sort of flatten that one out and head east-west towards the sidelines. He never really got himself square to attack upfield again.
Leaves Evans with 2nd down and 8. Pressure on, he's hit from behind as the ball comes out, and Jamal Roll thought that he had an interception. Jumped the route from Jalen Ackland, read the body language of his old teammate, and very nearly came up with a big turnover in this ball game.
Keep your eyes here for Cameron Kelly. He's going to come from off screen, but he's coming free on the blitz. He's the man that delivers the hit. As William Powell is eaten up by the blitz from the inside linebacker. That leaves Kelly free off the edge. Forced Caleb Evans to get rid of that one faster than he wanted.
Leone sends it away. Braylon Addison, his 2nd punt return of the ball game, dancing, trying to find some room, and great coverage down the field. That was Adam O'Clair, starting weak side linebacker. He'll head back out for his defensive job, but a great tackle on specials from the young Canadian. the Ottawa REDBLACKS since he's been the head coach of the Ticats in 2019, 2021. Last 4 matchups, not a lot of offensive output for the REDBLACKS in these games.
Yeah, REDBLACKS already bucking the trend here today, keeping this one close.
17 points on the board is, ooh, a nice throw from Dane Evans. He was staring right down into the hole. Saw 2 men and didn't care. That was a relaxed throw into coverage.
Well, once again, it's Stephen Dunbar on the receiving end. You know, we talked to Dane Evans a few weeks ago about Stephen Dunbar and, you know, his continued growth here in his 2nd year in the Canadian Football League. He said the thing that stands out to him about Dunbar is his work ethic. So we asked Stephen about that this week, and he said so much of that comes from his high school and just the way their program ran and the discipline that was demanded and the level of competition within that program, as we sort of alluded to in terms of the other famous receiver to come out of there.
They go quarterback run on 1st down, and Evans goes nowhere. You could see those defensive ends from the REDBLACKS slashing away at the football, as Evans has a host of lost fumbles this year, but he secures it despite the loss of 1. 2nd down and 11. Haven't seen Matthew Schultz at all in this 2nd half after he got some run in the 1st. 3 receivers to the right. Antoine Pruneau in hot pursuit forces Evans to get rid of the football before he wanted to, and incomplete.
Well, watch for Antoine Pruneau, bottom right corner of your screen. He's the man who's going to come free on the blitz here and force Dane Evans to accelerate his rhythm on that play. You can see him looking for Don Jackson underneath, but again, under pressure, forced to move to his right. Tough to make an accurate throw even from that relatively short distance.
And a couple creative looks from Mike Benavides the last 2 drives for the Ottawa REDBLACKS defense. Doing their best to give the offense an opportunity with the young quarterback struggling to find his rhythm. Punt of 43 yards on the play by Michael Domagala. I think that the Ticats will take that. And good coverage as well. The ultimate race around the country is back. Get into an all-new The Amazing Race Canada Tuesday at 9, 8 Central, only on CTV. Set your PVR.
You hosting that?
I am. That John Montgomery is a dashing young man. He really is. Actually gave a address at the Commissioner's Brunch at the Grey Cup in 2018. Went up on stage and said, to the contrary, I was at the schooner party last night. I'm not John Montgomery, but thank you to everybody. Fake a little inside pitch here from Caleb Evans. Now he's got to get rid of it. Looks over the top and just throws this one away out of bounds.
And veteran decision there.
No doubt.
You talk about the learning. Remember early in this ball game, we saw Caleb Evans rolling to his right. They were in Hamilton territory, and then looking to throw one away, he kind of threw it back into the middle of the field where it could have been picked off. Better decision with that ball.
It's interesting to hear Caleb Evans this week talking about, I want to be a gunslinger, but I got to know when to take those shots. Threw an interception earlier when he forced it on a double move. Smart there, and it sets up 2nd and 10. Will he look vertical? He'll go underneath, trying to knife away from the tackle. Cam Kelly right there in coverage. Wrapped up after a gain of 7, so in their own end of the field. Off comes the sideline, Anthony Gosselin and Cyril Hogan-Saint-Don. Extra lineman, full back in. 3rd down and 2 yards to go. Oh, and now as I say that, they bring in the heavies, and Lapo looks at his call sheet and says, maybe not right now.
Yeah, I suspect Lapo moved up to look down the line at just how long a yard or 2 is it. Didn't like what he saw and rethought the decision.
He's still staring it down. You know he wants to go for it. You see the frustration. He wants a reason to give this offense an opportunity to go and win the football game. Get their 1st win of the year. But he'll have to kick it away. Lawrence Woods grabs it from his own 15, makes 2 men miss. Wrapped up around the 20-yard line. 49-yard punt on the play, and Dane Evans certainly had himself an afternoon against Ottawa a couple years ago right here.
Yeah, you see the numbers at the bottom of your screen, 452 yards through the air. October 19th, 2019. Evans had a terrific first half in this ball game. Well over 200 yards passing, so on pace for another pretty good day. There you see it, 15 of 21 for 279 with 2 minutes remaining here in the third quarter.
Sorting his way through the reads, high completion percentage as well, as it'll be a handoff on first down. Stacked up in the middle of that defense once again is interesting. We talk about some of the substitutions that are in on this defense for the Red Blacks. Lorenzo Malden, good to see him back in the ball game, John, a little bit with his ex-teammate, but Antoine Pruneau appears to be taking the lead at that free safety spot and calling the defense in the middle with Avery Williams.
Yeah, Pruneau, senior member of these Red Blacks, drafted in the first round in their first year of play in 2014.
As Evans on 2nd and 6 was forced to get rid of it early last drive. This time looks over the top. Dunbar leans back, nearly had another, fading away. If there was a little bit more air under that one, he might have hit the jackpot twice in the same game.
Yeah, it's not quite. Cats going against the wind here in the third quarter. Dunbar working against Sherrod Baltimore. We're on that wide side, very nearly building the highlight reel. That one just off the fingertips as he's hitting the turf.
He wasn't lying, though, at halftime when he talked to Claire Henna. He was talking about catching it with his eyes, even as he's falling to the turf. That great look from our crew. You can see his eyes the entire way, all the way to the ground, searching it out as the wind gets its hooks into this one, keeps it short, and Terry Williams gets no return on the play. Coverage unit downfield quickly for the Ticats as they hold on to a 1-point lead, and Jalen Acklin trying to get himself back into the rhythm he found early and often, as he has 4 catches for 89 yards, most of them coming on this opening drive.
Yeah, quick impact for Acklin here in this homecoming. He had the game's opening touchdown, chirping his old buddies a little bit along the way. Of course, another big catch down the sidelines. No doubt Caleb Evans will be looking to number 23 as the Red Blacks try to eliminate that 1-point deficit.
Motions down to a tight end split this time, and they'll quarterback run right up the middle. It's Dylan Wynn at the bottom of the pile that folded up Caleb Evans. He's a big guy, man. You see Caleb Evans wandering around amongst those big defensive linemen, and his frame, there's just something about the way he's carrying himself. The stats might not be out of this world, but he looks so much more comfortable in the middle of the spray.
Yeah, absolutely. As he said, you know, didn't add a ton more weight, maybe about 10, 12 more pounds, but.
And on 2nd and 7, mechanics just a little off on that one. Alden Darby has an interception in this ball game, makes a play right there, as that will be the quarter. A 1-point ball game headed to the 4th. The Ticats have given up 60 fourth quarter points in the defense hold. Caleb Evans from the comeback victory. Will Hamilton get their first of the year? We find out. Come on back, fourth quarter football from the Hammer. 1-point ball game, and more first downs, more passing yards, and something that's been symptomatic of the Hamilton Tiger Cats season thus far. 7th in the league in time of possession, but they have the most scrimmage plays. They're staying on the field, but it's not taking up much time, but they weren't scoring points. But tonight, it's a conundrum, trying to figure out what this Hamilton offense is going to be. But they certainly have an opportunity here to get rid of that 0 in the win column coming off of their bye week.
Yeah, hanging tough, obviously, through that third quarter, holding on to that 1-point lead so far. But, you know, the thing that stands out is the statistics generally look pretty one-sided offensively in favor of the Hamilton Tiger Cats, but only a 1-point game. Well, I mean, the bottom line is that the turnovers still continue to haunt Hamilton. That's the one place where they're sort of losing on the stats sheet so far, and that's what's allowing Ottawa to hang around in this ballgame.
Hamilton will get another offensive possession here with Richie Leone. Ready to send it away. Got a battle on specials tonight. Lawrence Woods runs right into the tackle, waiting for him down the field. As once again, got a young Canadian making a play. Ty Cranston, little spoken of. We talked about Antoine Pruneau tonight. Alonzo Adai subbing in at free safety. Justin Howell out with an upper body injury. Hey, look, there's Ty Cranston.
Well, I think Ottawa leads the league in Canadian safeties.
Yes. And they rotate them through, everybody making their impact on this football game however they can. And they'll go with Antoine Pruneau at free safety on this drive as Evans begins from his own 23-yard line. Shows run to Don Jackson, steps up, flips it out, and right there, Randall Evans, great defensive play on Tim White.
A little bit of space. Randall Evans, another of the veterans who has avoided the injury bug thus far in the Ottawa secondary. We mentioned Gerard Baltimore earlier. Anticipating that play, doing a nice job making sure he wraps up on the tackle. Stopped Tim White for a 1-yard loss.
Solely with 4 to his left, they'll empty out Don Jackson, trying to find a curl route, and Braylon Addison snatches it out of midair. Close coverage on the play, and Dane said to us this week, Dwayne, that he was focusing on ball placement. That was a laser to the outside shoulder of number 0.
Yeah, it certainly was, and the body control here as this ball is on its way in to Braylon Addison. He's working back towards the football, sort of coming back into the inside, and he's got to launch upfield and to the outside to make that catch. Nice job from Addison.
Empty package getting a bit of run here for the Ticats, and this time Evans will go down with the sack on first down. They went 3 by 3, but Ottawa didn't care. They just came after it with a basic rush and made the play.
You'll see push and Coleman on the inside. Doing a nice job initially as he's spying into the backfield, keeping Brandon Revenberg's hands off.
Simulated snap. Evans gets a read. Now he'll go to work. Loads it up deep in the pocket. Great protection. Wide side. Don Jackson. There's the outlet. Has to get going if he wants the first down yardage. And the defense rallies.
I mean, this is the defense sort of executing exactly what was called. We'll let them catch something short in front of us and come up and make the play. This one, it's a long throw, but not far upfield, obviously. That time that ball spins in the air, allows a number of Ottawa defenders to rally to the football.
Get the sense that Ottawa defense is just begging Dane Evans to try and take a shot deep over the top. Just leaving everything underneath and saying, if you want, we'll be right here. Evans being patient right now, but it leads to a check down and a punt from Domagala. Nice one that rolls all the way down to the 15-yard line. Big special teams hit that time down the field. Turnowski once again, there's a flag down at the back of the play, and it looks like it's going to be legal block perhaps. We'll get the flag covered when we come back, but Evans ripping it, and Addison just by the fingertips. Hamilton continues. Stands are filled up with the youngins today. Love that. The next generation of CFL football fans trying to cheer the Ticats on to their first win of the year, but Ottawa's got other ideas as R.J. Harris makes the grab and spoke this week about instant chemistry with Caleb Evans from their time together last year.
And Harris, he and Nate Bahar, sort of the two returning guys in that receiving core that would have spent a little bit of time with Caleb Evans. Basically looking to build on what they developed last season.
Evans in the gun with a fresh set of downs from his own 40-yard line. Flips it out into the flats. Alden Darby right there to throw down Bahar. And he has made a host of plays after coming over from Winnipeg. And bounced around. Sam linebacker playing a boundary halfback today.
And keep an eye on Darby right here. You've got Bahar moving around in the backfield, and he's just going to track him. Bahar motions. Darby with him all the way. Arriving a split second after the ball. Got an interception, and there his third tackle of the ball game to go along with it.
Kyle Wilson supplying the pressure. Heat on this time. Man coverage all over the place. Jalen Ackland breaks a tackle. Very nearly does, as it looked like Jamal Rowe got just enough of number 23 to put him on the ground.
And the quick game seems to agree with Caleb Evans and the Ottawa REDBLACKS. You quick hitters in succession here. Moving the sticks. Working against the wind. Don't need to have the ball hanging up in the air.
Jalen Ackland breaks the dollar bill mark. 108 yards receiving for the former Ticat. Inside run on first down. Just hasn't been going anywhere, but they're sticking to it. As Willie P gets stacked up once again. This is a workmanlike afternoon for number 29.
Having to work hard to earn everything he gets. Jalen Ackland, certainly one of the prized free agent signees for Ottawa this offseason. Happy to be reunited with former Hamilton teammate Jeremiah Masoli, of course, at quarterback.
Evans pressure on again. He gets it away underneath. That would have been Shaq Johnson's first grab of the ball game, but defensive coordinator Mark Washington's group gets off the field. As it seemed like that was really the first drive that we've seen them try to consistently heat up Caleb Evans.
Yeah, definitely trying to get the ball in the air a little bit, get it out of his hands quickly into a little bit of a rhythm. That one just a bit behind Shaq as he's unable to make the grab.
Hamilton holds for now as we near the midway point of the fourth and final quarter. No points given up as of yet. Beautiful punt from Leone, drops down inside the 5. And Woods knifes his way out past the 20 after the 48-yard punt gets a good chunk back. And a 22-yard return will set up Dane Evans and the Ticats offense at their own 24-yard line. Breaking arm tackles, trying to drive Hamilton to their first victory of this season. Live from St. Andrews, the home of golf. Golfers tee off at 7 Eastern, 4 Pacific on TSN and CTV. Aye.
Marshall Ferguson, a wee bit of Scottish, perhaps?
A wee little bit in the last name, Petrus. Rory from Ireland. Hey, how about Shane Lowry as well? Back-to-back Eagles. First time that's been done at the Open since Phil Mickelson, I believe, in 2001 in the first round. We got it all covered for you. Inside handoff, 1st and 10. And Antoine Pruneau flying into the backfield, making plays from deep in the depth chart. He was essentially signed to be a special teamer, but he's all over the field here in the fourth.
Yeah, keep an eye on Pruneau here. Happy to get a little bit of time with that starting defense wherever they line him up. Left side of your screen, slice him down off the edge. Can make a big play. Former Montreal Carabin star. Showing he's still got some miles left.
Evans deep drop this time. Wanted to take a shot down the field. The pressure wouldn't allow it. Can he escape? He won't. Now the ball is out, rolling around. Shades of the past games here in Hamilton. It's still loose. And it'll be Lorenzo Malden, the former Ticat, who gets there before number 9. And Paul LaPolice calls for the heavies right away. In the fourth quarter, turnovers deep in their own end, losing fumbles and setting up short fields for their opponents. It's happened again, Dwayne.
Well, this was the ball that nobody wanted. But it was Davon Coleman who lines up just in that A-gap to the left, who started the chaos. He gets a hold of Dane Evans. And I think it was actually Alex Fontana, his own center, and trying to pull Evans out of there, perhaps. But it looked like basically his own player stripped the ball from Dane Evans.
Ron Jackson had an opportunity to get it back. Couldn't get on top.
A big play there for Lorenzo Malden. We mentioned earlier Jalen Ackland over the century mark in receiving, as a couple of former Ticats are coming back to haunt their old team right now.
Former Ticat Darius Sirocco snaps it back to Evans, plunges his way forward over the goal line. It's a touchdown for the Red Blacks, and they take the lead as Sirocco gets up. The Burlington native talking a little smack, and Evans once again in disbelief.
And here you'll see once again, not an overwhelming surge by any stretch from Ottawa in this short yardage situation, but the reach of Caleb Evans getting just enough to break the lead, the plane, and take the lead.
They'll go for two. Evans in the gun, pressure on. He's got man coverage all over the place. Where will he go? Floats it over the top, as he was hoping to find R.J. Harris. As the shadows get longer, so do some of the faces on that Ticats sideline, but they got to bounce back if they want to break the goose egg. Just under 7 minutes remaining here in the fourth quarter. Evans trying to make a play. Fontana, his center, coming to relief. Knocks it out. And the Red Blacks lead 23-8.
Soling, his quarterback brother, Dane Evans, at the end of that ball game. Dane Evans looking to finish strong and hopefully not have a deja vu case here.
Smooth sailing all the way out to the 46-yard line here for the Ticats return team. But you know, when I was doing the BC Lions game against Ottawa a while back, week 3, I think it was, we were talking so much about Nathan Rourke and his ability to show mental fortitude, right? To figure it out, to get into adversity and to persevere and come through. Dane Evans certainly has a lot of adversity on the table, but Matthew Schultz is going to begin this drive after the lost fumble. It might be the package they ran earlier with the quarterback run, as they go quarterback draw on first, and Schultz gets the head down after a gain of about 6. And will Evans come off the sideline, or no? They'll keep Schultz in with the 5 receivers.
Yeah, and I'm not reading into this as a sitting down of Dane Evans. Is they had success in the first half with using this Schultz package for a stretch. Contributed a lot of yards to a scoring drive for them with Matthew Schultz, in fact, getting into the end zone. So I think it's maybe an opportunity for Dane to catch his breath while also getting back to something different offensively that they haven't done so far in the second half.
Call a run here on 2nd and 4, and it's not even close. It's once again the Ottawa front with Avery Williams there helping out, Adam O'Clair, and here's some Bluebirds coming out here. The interesting thing about this one is that, yes, you're right, it's a package. They've used it. They've had success with it. When you do it in that moment, after you've just had the fumble that set up the leading scoring touchdown by Ottawa, it's a little bit of a different feel than, hey, let's mix it up.
Yeah, I mean, the timing is such that people are going to read into it what they choose to read into it. But from here, obviously not knowing exactly what was said on the sidelines, if anything, about the reason for that package at that time.
And Lawrence Woods gets down and makes the play, but it'll be a 15-yard no yards flag against the Ticats. So again, decent starting field position for the Red Blacks offense with 5:15 left and suddenly holding a 5-point lead.
During the return, no yards. Hamilton, number 37, 15-yard penalty, first down.
Well, it's frustrating ones for special teams coordinator Craig Butler, where you have a return man who's not honoring the no yards area. If there's anybody on the team you think would understand the no yards ruling and the fact that it's not 5, it's 15, it'd be number 37 as he gets some attention on the sideline after the hit.
Yeah, and I think this is a case of Woods maybe thinking he was 5 yards away. I suspect from his perspective thinking, well, when I'm catching the ball, those guys sure look closer than this.
Noise starts to make its way back into Tim Hortons field. Ticats need a stop, and they do the job on first down. Run up the middle. Julian Hauser stacked up as Orlando Steinauer looks on, adding to that tally that we mentioned earlier on in the ball game.
Yeah, outscored 99-25 in the second half, including overtime of ball games this season.
They really believed that was done. Like they started fresh, new, bye week, great week of practice, and you could tell they weren't talking it up. They were saying, that happened. We're still right in the battle in the East Division because of how the standings are, as Caleb Evans looks to try and convert on 2nd down and 8, and he will. A big play that time to Jalen Ackland. Goes back to his top target on the evening and moves the sticks.
And you see Jalen Ackland. He's going to end up, starts off in the slot here. He's going to end up as the wide man. Following motion, gets the other two to sort of clear space, create a little bit of confusion for him. He's the guy that emerges from the smog.
4 receivers out for Evans this time. Bumps into his running back on the awkward backfield exchange with Powell. They try to sort it out, and Darvin Adams getting a rare target.
Is an incomplete pass. 2nd down.
And discussion down there. Looks like Ottawa might have been fishing for a call, perhaps.
You mentioned William Powell and Caleb Evans getting their signals crossed in the backfield.
Always fun to be throwing a football and having your legs cut out by the guy in the same color uniform. Sets up 2nd and 10. Pressure look. Cam Kelly and Santos Knox blitzing. What a dime dropped over the top, but it won't go anywhere. Great rallying to the football that time as Kelly ends up going from blitz, turning, and makes the play.
You'll see the pressure coming in here for Hamilton. He's got to throw over Santos Knox, but nice job here done, I thought, by Kyle Wilson, who runs to a spot where he's sort of getting that outside leverage, which forces Powell back to the inside where the tackle is made.
Mark Washington wanted the ball ripped out. He'll have to settle for the punt. Hamilton gets the football back after this. 3-minute warning, and Hamilton down 5. His first fish do drink water because they need to absorb some of the oxygen, and never say your Instagram name on live television. There you go. We answered all the questions. Wobbling punt drops down. Lawrence Woods carries it across the 25, cuts back at the 30, 35, still on his feet, cutting across midfield. The Ticats down 5. Can he run away from Marco Dubois? Tracking him down, and he falls.
Never look back.
He heard the footsteps of the big Rouge et Or monster, Marco Dubois. They're both out of oxygen, but Hamilton gets a jolt of lightning into the offense. A short field, and Dubois is exhausted from the effort.
Well, both completely gassed. Great effort by each of these guys. Lawrence Woods, at a moment when his team could not need it more, comes up with this monster return, but Marco Dubois, with his team's first win of the season potentially on the line, wasn't going to give up on the play.
Tell you what, when you got a 6'4", 235-pound fullback tight end horse chasing down a 5'9", 100, and there's 50 pounds difference between those two men, and Dubois was gaining.
Well, I mean, Marco Dubois is one of those guys who, great draft story, right, from a few years back, as a guy who played on some great Laval teams. He was a receiver, invited to the CFL Combine as a receiver, didn't play a lot at receiver in college, but was a dominant special teams player. He ends up getting picked in the 2nd round because of the impact that he can have and the importance of special teams in the Canadian Football League. And, you know, you get a little bit of a glimpse of how seriously he takes that role right here. There's Lawrence Woods breaking it upfield. Marco Dubois gets on his horse, but it's right here where he looks back, and it, you know, and when the legs are getting heavy, right, and you've got that refrigerator on your back, anything that's going to risk throwing you out of rhythm, your legs are kind of on autopilot at that point. You don't even feel them. And I think that look back just threw off Lawrence Wood's rhythm enough that he went down.
Woods gets to his feet to a rousing applause from the Ticats fans. But I would say this, I was never blessed athletically enough to be a return man like a young Dwayne Ford was, I'm sure. But if I were running in the open field and I turned around and saw 230 pounds of Marco Dubois, I'd fall down pretty quick too, especially when he's gaining. Into the shotgun, it goes Matthew Schultz, the Ticats, with a chance, down 5. 2:21 remaining in this fourth quarter. Schultz will throw. Trying to, now he'll tuck. Rolls out to his right. Can he find anyone in the back of the end zone? Oh, he might have had Tim White, Dwayne, if he had a little bit extra time.
Yeah, right along that sideline, but in that split second, Schultz had made up his mind. Protect the field position, live to fight another day for what will realistically be 2 more downs if needed. And you'll see Tim White is running across the end zone. You see him, he's going to come into that spot, number 12, back of the end zone. He's open, but Schultz with a defender right on him.
They'll get another opportunity. 2nd and goal after the Woods return. Can't settle for 3. Gotta go here late in the 4th. Schultz scrambling forward, wrapped up and brought down. And now Dane Evans will watch from the sideline on 3rd and goal with his team trailing by 5.
Looked like Schultz was going to get there. But nice recovery on the play. The Ottawa defender doubling back, make that shoestring tackle.
Late conversation here between Schultz and Tim White usually suggests a throw. Talking to the receiver, breaking the huddle. They'll go 5 wide. Schultz does look to take it to the air. He goes to White, intercepted at the goal line, pulled out of the arms of Tim White. It's Bailey, Hakeem Bailey, diving in from behind, and the Red Blacks will wave goodbye. 5th turnover of the ball game. This one ain't over yet, but that stings.
Well, and here you'll see, watch the eyes of Bailey from the corner. He's looking right into the backfield. He's going to see exactly when Matthew Schultz turns that way, leaves his guy Dunbar on the outside to jump Tim White underneath. But you could just see him kind of sitting between the 2 receivers, recognizing that in the time the ball will take to travel, he's going to have a chance to get there to make a play. And it's a huge one for Hakeem Bailey, who draws into the lineup due to injuries in the secondary. He's in there for Money Hunter, the corner spot.
As I say, this one ain't over as of yet. Minute 44 on the clock. William Powell finally gets a little bit moving and a 1st down carry. But the reward for the real football with the Ticats logo on it is a gold football, as they've decided that's the celebration piece on the Ottawa sideline this year. College inspiration, Miami turnover chain, and axes and cowboy hats and everything else floating around, but all Ottawa wants is a win. Justin Howell, the injured starting free safety from tonight's ball game, recognizing Bailey's work, so it leaves 2nd down and 3 as the clock rolls here. Evans in the gun. You give up the safety here, you make it a 3-point ball game. Don't want to do that. The defense will stack it up. And now, Bob Dice, Paul LaPolice decision to make. Wayne punt this one away. Leave it as a 5-point ball game and force the Hamilton offense to score and beat you. Or make it a 3-point game, and you might not get that much based on where the new kickoff position is.
Yeah, I mean, this is why Paul LaPolice gets paid the big bucks. Is decisions like these. For me, I don't know, I'm kind of feeling like this next men up defense for Ottawa has stood tall on everything. But, you know, I mean, one of the thoughts in punting this away is that you are punting into the wind.
Absolutely. funny. It never looks like much, the flags on the uprights here at Tim Hortons Field, but field level would be a bit of a different story. They'll kick it away, force the Ticats offense to beat them for their first win. It dribbles into Ottawa territory and rolls out of bounds. They'll spot it at the 49 of the Ottawa REDBLACKS. And hey, look, there's number 9. Here comes Dane Evans back on the field with an opportunity to rewrite the story after having the fumble hit earlier, having the interceptions, 8 of them to start the season coming into tonight. He finishes this one off with a touchdown drive. In the next minute and 3 seconds, all will be forgotten.
An opportunity to erase all of that. Ottawa with the punt, forcing Hamilton to score a touchdown to win rather than giving them an opportunity to kick a field goal to tie.
5 wide for Evans, throws it into the middle of triple coverage. Braylon Addison comes down with it. That's how you start a drive, a first down. And there's a couple of REDBLACKS slow to get up.
Well, and check out the courage of Dane Evans on this throw. You're going to see underneath, Stephen Dunbar's wide open on the short throw, but that's not where he's going. He's looking long. Braylon Addison, the faith he has in Addison, who has, over the course of his career in black and gold, demonstrated his reliability, demonstrated his toughness. He's going right into the teeth of the defense to make a huge grab.
And Dane Evans, great teammate. We saw him celebrating with Matthew Schultz, obviously frustrated by the fumble earlier that set up the, for now, game-winning touchdown punch by Caleb Evans, but a little bit of anger in that throw, it felt like. Like that was a guy that was staring down coverage and saying, listen, if I'm in the game, I'm putting the ball where I want it, deal with it.
Well, and this is it. And, you know, we talk about when you face adversity, okay, you learn from the mistakes, but other than learning from them, forget about them. Move on, move forward. The most important play is always the next play. And that's the thing I like about that throw from Dane Evans, quite frankly, coming off a fumble that obviously is sort of a game-changing play for him in his next play from scrimmage to step up and make a tough throw and not fear it, right? Not back away from it. Definitely shows something about number 9.
Used the bye week to get away and reset. He's had to do it multiple times in this game. 1st and 10. From the Ottawa 26, corner route over the top, completed on the money, Tim White.
Tim White from that inside slot, working towards the corner. Stem to the inside, rounds it off to the sidelines with the throw. Another dart from Evans.
Evans in the gun, hands it off. Don Jackson cutting it back. Gain of 4 on the play. Gets it down. And this is an interesting one, too. If you get into a situation down near the goal line, 2nd and goal, 3rd and goal, Matthew Schultz has been the short yardage quarterback. There ain't no way Dane Evans is coming off the field right now. 2nd and goal. Clock will run. 40 seconds left in the ball game. Ticats looking for their first win of the year. Inside handoff, no chance. They'll have 3rd and goal from about the 2.5-yard line to decide whether or not they get into the win column here in Hamilton.
One shot for all the marbles here for both of these teams. Massive defensive play there.
Slashed from the backside. Adam O'Clair was injured, came out of the ball game. He's back in. 3rd and goal. Evans leans to his left on his back foot into the end zone. Touchdown, Tiger Cats. With 19 seconds remaining, Evans leads the comeback drive. Tim White with his inner Bo Jackson went straight to the tunnel. This game ain't over, but what a difference, Dwayne.
Yeah, Dane Evans gets the necessary protection. And Tim White with a defender draped on him.
With a 1-point lead, they'll go for the single.
Well, leaving room for a field goal.
Interesting. Lewis Ward has not connected or attempted beyond 50 this year. He would certainly be pushing his range, but that single really doesn't do you any good in this spot. 5 plays, 49 yards, all of 44 seconds is the first overall pick. In 21, Jake Burke comes over to recognize Tim White, who came in leading this team in catches and targets and receiving yards. The only one that matters right now to those fans is the one catch he made in the end zone to give them the lead with 19 seconds remaining.
Just great response to adversity from Dane Evans on this drive. Had the fumble, sat out the next possession, back into the ball game with the game on the line, and was pretty much flawless in all he did.
I mean, over the middle, Braylon Addison, laser into triple coverage. Corner route, Tim White steps out of bounds on the money, and then fading away, falling down, trying to avoid pressure, puts it in the only spot that Tim White could catch it. And it gives Hamilton a chance to close it out and send home the fans happy at the end of week 6. The return will come from Terry Williams across the 30, free running, chopped down at the 50-yard line, but that is good field position, albeit probably only time for 2 or 3 snaps here.
And Lewis Ward, obviously very accurate throughout his career, not necessarily known as a guy with tremendous range. Those flags atop the goalposts are pretty calm right now in a place where the wind can often be a factor. We'll point out, Ottawa won the coin toss, elected to take the ball to start the game. We so often see teams defer and take the wind in the 4th quarter in this stadium, but they end up against the wind to finish the ball game. In a situation where a field goal, Hamilton left the door open by kicking the single and the extra point. Field goal can win it if they can get there.
Caleb Evans in the shotgun. Lots of time. He'll check it down over the middle, just across the 55.
Clock stops with 7 seconds.
Good stop, defense.
Likely time for one more, unless
Ottawa.
they can get a quick completion. Even if they stop it on a first down to reset the chains, you've only got 1 or 2 left for the opportunity here. Caleb Evans does have a big arm. He can put it in the end zone from here, so the Hail Mary is not in question, but it's what they call on this play and how Evans executes it against Mark Washington's defense that will decide this football game.
Yeah, and I think Bob Dice involved in a conversation that I'm sure they had a little bit earlier with Lewis Ward of what do you need? Where do you need us to get to?
Lawrence Woods, who was down earlier after making a tackle on special teams, down on the field once again. Here is Bob Dice, one of the very best in the Canadian Football League, trying to decide how do we get this into field goal range and how much can Lewis Ward push that football towards Lake Ontario here at Tim Hortons Field.
Woods presumably still recovering after that long return.
Anybody who left the Ticats were down by 5. Maybe listening in on this one on their way home. A little surprised, but Dane Evans answering the bell on that last drive.
Yeah, huge catch there from Braylon Addison. Tim White gets the feet down in bounds. Another deep throw, and then White again in the end zone. Coming up big. It was almost a walk-off.
I genuinely thought that Tim White believed the game was over at that point. As he ran to the tunnel, somebody's got to go get him. Thankfully, the vet Don Jackson knew better. Brought him back to the field to watch this finish, and Orlando Steinauer, with the noise coming in, is trying to communicate to his safeties to back up. Tunde Adeleke is on the back end. It was Alden Darby. spacing it out. A lot of room in the middle of the field here. They're basically giving up the underneath. They'll take it, and it'll be completed to about the 47-yard line. R.J. Harris, the vet, makes the grab. It's going to be 54 or 55, and again, no attempts on the year for Lewis Ward from 50+. And remember, in that magical season he had with the long streak of made field goals, they really didn't ask him to push it very much from this depth. Not saying he can't, but this is a big ask.
That certainly is. And, you know, as if on cue in the home team stadium, the wind picks up a little bit as Lewis Ward lines up for a potential game winner.
LP Barras is the long snapper, Leone the holder. Lewis Ward with the kick. Does it have the depth? Just shy. It grazed the uprights, and that is how Hamilton will get their first win of the season as Evans and Sean Thomas Erlington celebrate. And the hands on the knees of the Ottawa REDBLACKS say it all as Paul LaPolice takes off the hat and walks to the tunnel in frustration.
Well, Dane Evans overcoming adversity here, but we take a look at this kick. Into the wind.
Oof.
Couldn't be any closer.
Evans thought it was through. He saw the depth when it came off that foot.
On line, a yard and a half, and roles are reversed here.
Orlando Steinauer maintains his perfect record against the Ottawa REDBLACKS, 5-0. Up next for Ottawa, their next attempt will be to get an opportunity at home against the Montreal Alouettes to kick off week number 7 of the CFL season. What a great weekend of football. Comeback with Edmonton against Montreal, a great showdown, Calgary, Winnipeg, touchdown Atlantic, and we end with this special one. For Claire Hanna, Dwayne Ford, I'm